Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the 2024 presidential election, but beyond that as well. This is part 2 of my series on looking at the coalitions of the future. And in case you didn't watch the last video, I think you should because I explained it a little more in depth last video than I'm going to this video. So go do that, please. But just to recap, in an average election 10 years from now, what is the easiest Republican pathway to 270? What is the most reliable collection of states that they can win to get to the presidency? And in this video, I'll be answering that question the same way I did for the Democrats in the previous video. So again, if you're interested in seeing the Democratic version of this video, go watch the one from yesterday. Additionally, if you're not already subscribed, we're so close to 6K. Please help me get there. And yeah, with that said, I'm going to get into it here. So we're going to fill out the states the Republicans would normally win because you could debate like Kansas maybe would be competitive to some extent 10, 15 years from now, but not really. Same with like Ohio or Iowa. But realistically, if Republicans are serious about winning the presidency, they have to lock down these states. This is a natural part of their winning elections. They haven't won an election without Ohio in, I think, since like I don't even know. I think maybe since like the 20s, maybe. I don't even know. I'm not sure, to be honest. But either way, the Republicans are also going to have to win states like Florida to win the presidency, and that's a state that could be close, but shouldn't. Like, if they're winning the presidency, they should be winning it. And so then there's states the Democrats are going to win no matter what. And again, I'm just going to fill these states out here as we talk. But you're going to notice that the Democrats start out with a much bigger amount of electoral votes that they are probably winning than Republicans. And they're already up to 241 electoral votes when you fill in the states they're probably winning. Michigan, I talked about this last video, you could debate about Michigan, but realistically, Republicans don't like if Republicans are winning Michigan, they probably already won the presidency. They're probably already winning the rest of these states. So there's really no point in talking about it because it is a necessary part of the Democratic coalition for them to win. But again, if Michigan is a state that is yet to be called, Republicans have probably already won the presidency. So let's just talk about the map from here. And you'll notice that the Republican Party really can only afford to lose two or three of these states. So we're just going to get going here and fill out the states I think are easiest for them in the future. And I think the best way to start is Nevada. I've actually made a documentary, but Nevada, a mini documentary, I guess you could say. And to make a long story short, the best way to tell the way a state's trending is to look at where the population is and how that area of the state is trending. And in Nevada, almost 80% of people live in Clark County. And that county swung 1.5 points towards Trump in 2020, despite the fact that Biden did very well in other suburbs and other urban areas across the Sun Belt, right? Like you look at Phoenix, did very well in Phoenix. Did very well in Austin, Travis County, if I can find it. He did well there. Even in Florida, which is a state that he got crushed in, he did well in Jacksonville, up in Duval County. He did very well in the suburbs of Orlando. And, of course, Atlanta was the best performance he put up, arguably, in that entire election. So the fact that Clark County, despite everything else related to it swinging Democratic, it swung towards Trump. And not only did it swing towards Trump, it swung actually 3.6%, actually 3.7% to the right of the country when you adjust for national partisanship. So that's a pretty significant trend, and if that continues, Republicans should be winning Nevada in the future. Now, Nevada's weird. A lot of things could change, but I think if Republicans want to win the presidency 10 years from now, I think in that average scenario, Nevada's going red. Similar thing with Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin's a bit harder than Nevada, I would say, because in 2020, Biden did win it, but like there are areas Democrats can improve here. In Nevada, they're doing better in like Washoe County, but that's like 8 times smaller than Clark. So it doesn't really matter if Republicans just keep doing a little bit better in Clark. In Wisconsin, the area of the state that Republicans are losing the most in is also pretty big, and that's the WOW counties. Waukesha County swung 6 points towards Biden in 2020. He did 7% better in Ozaukee. And so if Democrats start to like win Ozaukee and get close to winning Waukesha, Republicans are in trouble. Now, the good news for them is that they're doing very well in the western part of the state. And I think, broadly speaking, in terms of raw votes, they can overpower the swings against them in the WOW counties if they maxed it out here in this western working class part of the state and do better because again, the rural north isn't actually that red. Like if I went to like rural Texas and I just clicked on a random county, I don't even know the name of Stonewall County, Republicans win with like over 80% of the vote. If you go to rural Wisconsin, you click on a random county, Republicans win it with like 57%, or they're getting 56% here, they're getting 58% here, they're getting 60% here. So they have a lot of counties they can improve in this rural northern part of the state, and I think they can do that. It's doable, especially because these counties aren't super educated and because they're not counties that you'd expect Democrats to hold on to for a while. So Wisconsin's number 2. But it gets harder from here because the rest of these states are either left trending or stagnant. And so from this point on, let's talk about the best way to go forward. And I think I would say right now, the state I would choose if I'm a Republican 10 years from now of these remaining 5 is probably North Carolina. And again, as you can see here, this is why it's hard for Republicans to win the presidency in the future, because we've already given them 3 competitive states, and they're still way behind the Democrats. They're only at 211. So we still have to talk with North Carolina. But in 2020, I guess just to summarize, in 2020, Biden did fine there. He did better than Clinton, but he was expected to win it by most people. I had him losing it narrowly, but the polling had him up. Most models said he was a pretty clear favorite to win it, and he lost it, but it wasn't like an atrocious performance. It was just below average. But the good news for Republicans is that they still have area to improve in these rural western counties. Like, again, it's kind of like rural Wisconsin, that Republicans haven't actually maxed out these areas out here. Like, they can improve Henderson County. They can improve there. They can improve in Haywood, Madison. Again, I don't know too much about these counties individually, but they are largely white, rural, non-college educated, and Republicans can easily get to 70% in most of these counties, and that'll net them a couple points statewide. But they can also improve in these areas up here. And these are areas that are blue, but are trending Republican. And actually, even in 2020, they swung right, but in 2022, they were really, really bad for Democrats. And these areas are plurality to majority black. Most of these counties up here have substantial black populations that will vote Democrat. And the issue that Democrats have here is that turnout from black voters is decreasing, and a lot of these voters are non-college educated and socially conservative. So there are actually rightward shifts among these black voters in these areas. And so if Republicans can do 5% better here in the near future, and do a little better here, they can hold on to North Carolina. They're still going to lose in the suburbs. Again, I think the worst part of North Carolina is Cabarrus County, because Biden did 10% better than Clinton. That's like a massive swing towards Democrats. And so areas like that are concerning for Republicans, but they can just, again, they really just have to keep making up ground in these rural areas up north and in the west. And if they can do that, they'll be able to hold off Democratic swings for a while. And so I think that's their best path forward. But we can't talk about the presidency for Republicans without talking about Texas, because they cannot win without Texas. And, it's a left-running state. I just made a documentary about it. Actually, please go watch that. I worked really hard on that video, so I thought it turned out. I was pretty happy with how it turned out. But if you want to learn more about Texas's trends and you want to look at cities, go watch that video. But either way, when you look at Texas, it's a left-trending state. There's no doubt about that. Austin itself, the metro area itself, I think trended like 8% towards Joe Biden. And I remember that from the video, so again, go check out the video. But in all seriousness, Austin Metro, I think, trended a little under 8% towards Joe Biden. San Antonio Metro trended 4 points towards Joe Biden. Houston swung, I want to say, 2 or 3 points towards Joe Biden. And Dallas Metro area swung 9 points towards Joe Biden. And so those are all pretty, like, when you add those up, they make up for, I think, the majority of Texas. When you add up all of the Austin, San Antonio Metro, all the Houston Metro, and all of the Dallas Metro, I think that's the majority of Texas. And so that's a really big problem for Republicans, because if they are not even competitive down the line in Dallas or Houston Metro, and again, it's already happening, right? Like, you look at Denton, 12-point swing towards Biden. Collin, 12-point swing towards Biden. Tarrant, 9-point swing towards Joe Biden. And actually, a fun fact I learned on Twitter was that the county, of every county in America, the county that nets Republicans the most raw votes is this county right here, Montgomery County. And Montgomery County swung 7% towards Joe Biden. And if Republicans keep losing in these suburban areas where they're netting votes and eventually they turn blue, they're not winning Texas. The good news for them is that they're improving in the South by a lot. Again, these counties are smaller, so they have like bigger, more erratic swings. But in southern Texas, when you add these areas up, they don't even, like, they're smaller than an entire metro area. But for Republicans to win Texas in the future, they have to keep doing really well here. They have to pray that this urban areas themselves, not the metros, not the suburbs, because those are trending blue no matter what, but they have to pray that turnout from the inner cities themselves decreases and that they keep seeing favorable trends. Because actually in the city of Houston itself, I think Trump actually did a couple points better in 2020 than he did in 2016. And so, if Republicans can do better within the cities themselves and keep up these swings with Hispanic voters, they can hold on to Texas for a couple of years longer. It's a tall order. It's a lot to ask. But if they want to win the presidency through the map we're seeing right now, they got to win Texas. And so that is the unfortunate truth for them because it's not ideal. And I think 10 years from now, Texas is a hard hold for Republicans, but that's what they have to do right now. And so the final state, as always, what's the tipping point? It's Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is difficult for Republicans, but they need it to win. And so say you give Georgia and Arizona to the Democrats, it doesn't really matter because, again, Republicans have already hit 270. But if you watch my other video, you'll know. But I think these two states are both pretty bad for Republicans. They're very left trending, and they both have big, like, single. These states both have, like, one metro area that kind of defines them. In Georgia, it's Atlanta, and in Arizona, it's Phoenix. But in Pennsylvania, the difference is that Republicans actually do have areas that can offset Democratic gains, right? Like, if you look at the area where Biden did the best in 2020, it came from the Philly suburbs and also up here. The good news for Republicans is that Biden did really well in the Scranton area up in this, like, kind of northeastern corner of the state, but he was from there, and it still didn't swing that much to the left relative to the nation. It was still good for Joe Biden, but it was not like this massive swing the way we saw a massive swing in, like, Dallas or in Atlanta, right? So these counties up here, I think Scranton, Lackawanna County, that's a big one. Democrats won it by a little under 10,000 votes in 2020. I think that's flippable for Republicans long term. Not in the near future, but I think long term they can do it. I also think they're going to do well in these areas up here that are light red. I think they're going to turn them kind of darker red like over here. But when you look at the Philly suburbs, they're really bad for Republicans because not only are they growing, but they're also trending left at a rate faster than you'd expect. Because, again, Chester County is actually mostly white. Right, like when you look at suburbs across the country, for example, Gwinnett County is not even majority white anymore, and Democrats obviously are doing well with white voters in Gwinnett County, but they are gaining a lot because you have black voters moving in, you have Asian voters moving in, so it's kind of a diversity thing. In Pennsylvania, Chester County is still mostly white, and it could diversify in the future, but again, when you look at the demographics of these counties, they are more friendly for the GOP than they are in other areas of the country. Republicans also have a lot to be excited about in the West. Even in 2020, where they did pretty poorly in Pennsylvania statewide, they did better marginally in a lot of these rural counties up here, kind of between Pittsburgh and Erie. And I think if they can truly maximize their potential out here, they can hold on to Pennsylvania. It would take a lot, right? Because it's kind of like a multi-step thing. Democrats, all they have to do is just keep up what they're doing right now. Republicans have to win back Erie, make gains in the Scranton area, pray the Philadelphia suburbs don't trend left super fast, like because they're trending left quickly, but they're not trending left like at the accelerated rate of like Dallas or Dallas or San Antonio or Atlanta for that matter. So they have to pray that those stay the same, and they also have to hope that they can really just make up these areas and make them as red as possible in the West. And so if that happens, they'll win Pennsylvania. It's a lot to ask. It's not the most likely outcome, but I think it has a reasonable chance of happening, and thus that's their path to 270. As you can tell, it was harder to do than the Democrats, which is why I think Democrats long-term are better at the presidency. In the Senate, Republicans are going to do very well. But in the presidency, Democrats, I think, are the better party long-term. And so, for that reason, I think it's safe to say that Democrats, I would rather be them in the future if these trends continue. Again, trends are hard to predict. Like in 2004, if you ask someone who's going to win, like this is actually crazy. In 2004, Bush only lost Hawaii by like 7 or 8 points. And everyone thought it was super right trending if you read stuff from back then. And now it's about as blue as it can be. Indiana, when Obama won Indiana in 2008, and it went from Bush plus 13 to like Obama plus 1, so people thought it was left trending. And it's certainly not today. So trends are hard to predict. I wouldn't make any strong predictions about the future, but I think as of right now, based on what we know objectively, this is the Republican path to the presidency. It's hard on the Democrats, but it's very possible, and I think when you look at it through this lens, it's certainly something that could happen. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.